on Monday, schools will have to start wearing, schools will not have to, pupils at schools, let's get it right, will not have to wear masks anymore. And this has provoked quite a lot of debate at Wycombe High. We're going to speak to the head teacher, Sharon Cromie, very shortly. But first of all, let's hear some of the students' opinions about this in a report that was put together by Alex, Daya and Sarah in Year 10.
How do you feel about not having to wear a mask from the 17th?
Well, Daya, I'm actually looking forward to not wearing a mask because I think it means that life is getting back to normal.
I'm a bit unsure because masks are sort of like a safety net, and there have been no instances of cases during this past term. However, before, when we had to take off masks in class, there were one or two, so I'm still iffy on the matter.
I think that not wearing masks is going to be very good so we can communicate with teachers and our friends better.
I think it could be a good thing, but I'm a bit scared. I feel like it's a bit soon and we're kind of forgetting the fact that cases can still go up, and everyone's sort of saying that like school was always quite a danger zone as well, so it's quite worrying, like sitting shoulder to shoulder for a whole hour in all of our classes without masks.
I think it'll be better in classrooms because we test twice a week.
I also think it will be good for the people who can't hear as well, as they'll be able to lip read the teachers.
It does seem a bit extreme to go from having to wear masks absolutely everywhere to not having to wear them anywhere at all. So I think probably still wearing them in communal areas might be a good idea, but then in the classroom it should be a choice.
Personally, I think it's great because I'm not a fan of masks. The condensation and going upstairs is not great.
I don't think it matters because wearing masks you can't even tell.
I want to take them off because then it's like, yeah, we don't have to wear them, but if we take them off I'm worried that it will like go back up again like last time we took them off.
And then it kind of just makes it go back into the same loop, and it will never really.
I don't really want to do that.
Get rid of it.
Go back again, and then it has to come out again. It just keeps going back and forth.
I think we should keep them on as long as we need them for.
I think it prevents transmissions, but also is a bit of an inconvenience to like learning and stuff.
Well, I think in classrooms it's mostly going to be fine, but it's the major moving around the buildings and when everybody gets together that it's probably going to be slightly more worrying.
I'm glad we're not wearing masks because it restricts my breathing and it makes me feel uncomfortable, but I know they're there for health and safety reasons.
It seems a very sudden change to go from wearing masks everywhere to wearing masks nowhere. I think I'm probably more in favour of a phased kind of return to normal.
Tad bit unsure because cases have gone up 5%. It's just we need to monitor the cases here, so because I don't think there's been cases since we put masks on. As long as there's no more cases, we're pretty much fine.
That is some of the pupils from High. Many thanks to Bob Massey for sharing that audio with us. And in particular, thanks to Alex, Daya and Sarah from Year 10 in Wycombe High. They produced the most fantastic actual news bulletin and report on Wycombe High that you can see on YouTube. And that's where we took that audio from. We're now going to be speaking to Sharon, but Sharon Cromie, the head of Wycombe High, she's been in a meeting and it's slightly overrunning. So we're just going to bear with her for a couple of minutes and we will be able to speak to her about masks, hopefully, in the next few minutes here on Wycombe Sound.
Over bridge of sights to rest my eyes in shades of green, under dreaming spires to Ichiku Park, that's where I've been. What did you do there? I got high. What did you feel there? Well, I cried. But why the tears there? Tell you why. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. I feel inclined to blow my mind, get on feed the ducks with a bun. They all come out to groove about, be nice and have fun.
The Small Faces and Ichiku Park. I promise Small Faces fans we will come back to that. I will play it again in its entirety after the 12 o'clock news. But I'm very pleased to say now that the head of Wycombe High, Sharon Cromie, can join us on the line. Sharon, good morning.
Hello to you too, Bob. How are you?
I'm very, very good, thank you. Thank you for joining us. A short time ago, we were hearing from some of your students with regards to the great mask debate, I suppose we could call it. And what was fascinating was there were so many different views there about some people really pleased to actually be able to take them off and saying that actually, it does feel like we're getting back to normal, but quite a lot of other students actually saying that they do feel still a little bit unsure.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that encapsulates the problem. There is no one view on whether face coverings should be continued to be worn or not. So we've got clear government guidance that says from Monday the 17th of May, children in schools and colleges no longer need to wear them in classrooms or communal areas where social distancing is possible. But that, at an individual level, will suit many and not suit equally many, because there's, this pandemic is still with us. And I think particularly overnight, we've seen the news breaking about the Indian variant that brings that, very much to the fore.
And I do think very much with the government guidance, we've been here before with the government guidance, where very much it was schools are absolutely fine, they're safe, and then within 24 hours really of absolutely reassuring us that schools were then closing. I note as well this morning that in Wales the First Minister there has then been saying a much more cautious line with regards to the Indian variant. And so for somebody like yourself as the head of a school, it must be so difficult to actually really know which way you should be going.
Exactly, Bob, and I think I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't, quite frankly, because people will hold very strong opinions about this either way. I know we will have parents and students who absolutely will want to continue to wear face coverings, and others who have the polar opposite view. The teachers' unions also have a view. People are citing SAGE, the government advisory body, on whether the government has made this decision too soon. And it does make a local decision very, very difficult, because, of course, what none of us want is to be in a position of, oh dear, it's happened, transmission is increasing, wish we'd made a different decision. But we also can see and understand that our young people really do have COVID-19 restriction fatigue, and they are desperate for the opening up of society, desperate to be able to see each other and to be able to learn without wearing a face covering. So it's a really difficult decision.
Yes, and I would imagine as well, from what we've just heard, and the report was fantastically put together, the little news bulletin that the school produced, it's just absolutely stunning in its quality, but also just the passionate views of so many of your students, and it really brought it home to me that actually, when you are the head of a secondary school, it's not, say, maybe like being the head of a primary school, where, yes, you've got all of the parents to keep happy and maybe the governors and other people like that. In a secondary school, you've got all of that, and then you've got the student body as well, who are becoming very passionate and in some cases very, very political sort of like minds, actually pressuring you one way or the other.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, at secondary school, they are developing into young adults, and by the time they hit sixth form, they exactly are that. They are young adults, and if we do our job properly over the 7 years they're with us, they are being taught to be engaged with politics, to be engaged in current affairs, to have an opinion, to express that opinion constructively and well, and to work towards the greater good for society. And of course they will take up jobs, they will be the future leaders. So yes, they do have views and opinions, and they do expect them to be heard, but they are often, there isn't a consensus, and there is not a consensus around face coverings. And of course what one can do legally can often be very different from what people choose to do, and we have to balance that. So it really is very, very difficult. We've done so well at school working together as a team. We've made sure that people's voices can be heard, and then we've tried to steer the correct path through. And it's been tricky at times. Our young people, particularly those supposed to have been doing A-levels this year, are very frustrated that the government having said exams are cancelled, that actually all schools have been forced into an internal exam season, whether we liked it or not. And now we have this face covering. We're allowed not to wear them, but there are many who are anxious about the repercussions of that.
So what are you actually saying to your student body?
Well, that's a big question, Bob, isn't it? So I felt I had clarity early in the week, clear government direction. The local authority are supporting that as well. But at different school level, locally, there are different decisions being made. Young people still have to wear their face coverings, for example, on public transport, on school buses, in shops, etc. So I think we have to recognise that legally there is a choice, but we can strongly recommend and steer that we continue to work together for the collective good of each other and for each other's safety. This pandemic is still with us, and health is paramount.
Yes, indeed. And again, the Indian variant just really bringing that home today. And as you say, I can completely understand, though, why you're saying that various members of your student body do have fatigue, because I think, once again, it feels again a little bit like sort of the Christmas time where we were going in one direction, and then all of a sudden, just as you can see this the light at the end of the tunnel, possibly we're taking a U-turn.
Yeah, there's risk. A pandemic is not predictable. If it was predictable and followed a set course, it would be so easy to manage, wouldn't it? It is not predictable. The science is improving day by day. It's great that we're following science. But there's still a lot the country and the scientists don't know. And it's only 2 weeks to half term. Let's keep steady. Let's keep following the steady path out. Let's keep each other safe. The weather will be better after half term again, with temperatures rising. That's also transformational. More people will be vaccinated, because not all school staff are vaccinated. Not all 18-year-olds are vaccinated. There is still high risk.
Yeah, yes, indeed. What about some of the other developments in the school since we last spoke? I know that you've had exciting building work going on.
We have indeed, Bob. It was, which was delayed because of the pandemic, but very excitingly completed. And in the last few weeks, we have been very pleased and proud to open our ground floor reception, much more accessible for disabled youth, at the front of the school, much more obvious, and better for parents and for students. We also have a student services area on the ground floor, which is fully staffed by pastoral leads and our mental health team to ensure our students are supported day to day in school, and not just with COVID issues, but also with the everyday stresses and strains of being a young person growing up in today's society.
Indeed, which is so good to hear, because obviously we have been marking Mental Health Awareness Week this week at Wycombe Sound, and I'm imagining that at Wycombe High you've been doing similar.
We have indeed, and indeed our mental health lead has been interviewed by our student news crew and has reported on how they can keep themselves well and safe. And we have a number of booklets and activities. We talk about connection. We have student ambassadors, etc. So we try to do a lot. And again, it's teamwork, it's reaching out, it's being there for one another, and it's not being afraid to talk about these issues and to speak up in the same way if you had a broken ankle or a broken leg, to say, I'm struggling mentally.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, and you should be given exactly the same sort of treatment and support if you do, and it's really, really good to know that you're doing that. Yeah. Again, it's so impressive to hear you say our news crew. That I wish my school had a news crew. I would have been all over that. It was so impressive. You can see it on YouTube. The Wycombe High News. I thoroughly recommend it. I feel like I maybe should be saying something along the lines of if they ever need any help, but I really feel it's the other way round. That actually Can we appoint your news crew to come to Wycombe Sound, please?
We would love to work with you, Bob. We'd love to welcome you here, and we would love to work with you.
That would be fantastic, and definitely I will take you up on that. When things are a little bit more normal, then definitely we should sort something out.
Well, absolutely, because there's been a lot in the media recently about the decrease in the arts and media. And journalism and writing in the creative industries, and we can't have everyone all going down one narrow path to science. We absolutely have to have it all. If we really believe in mental health and well-being, then we need all of this, and we need to make sure that we're communicating well and clearly.
Fantastic. I couldn't agree with you more. Thanks very much to Alex Dare and Sarah, whose work we broadcast earlier on. And Sharon, thank you very, very much for coming on today.
It's been a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you so much. That is Sharon Cromie, who is the head of Wycombe High. And we will keep our fingers crossed for Sharon with regards to mask events on Monday at Wycombe High.
National and international news on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.